Hello, hello, hello. Christina Shear here from the Mast Cell 360 team. We are delighted to be with you for another Facebook and YouTube live session. Today's topic, as we're continuing our MCAS basics, is on one of the three sensitivities levels. And in particular, this one is on if you are sensitive, right? So last week, you probably caught the conversation between myself and Kimberly, who's an incredible functional mast cell coach here on our team. And we talked about if you are hypersensitive, but we know there's some of you that are just sensitive in general. You're not hypersensitive, you're just sensitive. So we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper today, continue the discussion on the actual MC360 method, which we share here with our clients at the clinic, and actually share a couple tips on some of the supplements that you can take if you have MCAS, as well as an awesome resource that we see be like the best suggestion for those that are sensitive. So, all right. Well, for those of you that are joining us live, I would love to know where you're tuning in from. So go ahead and share in the comments where you are. We would love to hear, and maybe share like what the weather's like. I know that sounds a little funny, but I'm here in Michigan. We've got a nice, beautiful sunny day, which is always a treat. So I'd love to hear where you're at and how you're enjoying this time of the year. All right. As those chats and comments come on in, let me just go over the fun basics that we do every single time. Remember, this presentation is for informational and educational purposes. It's not meant to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent illnesses. Be sure to discuss any health recommendations mentioned today with your healthcare provider. And as always, we do include often a couple affiliate links, either to our store or to one of the affiliates that we love working with. A small commission typically is provided back to us when you utilize that link, and just know that that allows us to continue bringing incredible content just like this to you on a weekly basis and provide those awesome blogs, recipes, and posts. And know that we never like do an upsell or anything like that. It's just there's no extra cost. It's just an opportunity to support our newsletter and our free resources. So, all right, well, let's head on through to what we're going to cover today. And I love it. Mary Ann, let me share these real quick on screen. Mary Ann's in Michigan. Hi. And we also have Kim in Michigan. That is just the coolest thing. It looks like the Michiganders showed up today. I'm in the lower part of Michigan, just outside of Metro Detroit, if you guys are wondering. And we've got Gina joining us from Mississippi today. Hot, humid, and cloudy. I would expect nothing less from Mississippi. And we've got Jenny joining us from Canada. Good to hear that you guys are probably thawing out at this point. It's sunny and it's beautiful there. No snow. Always grateful for that. Okay, well, let's get into it. So we're going to cover today what is the MC360 method. Like I mentioned, the three types of sensitivity levels, which we've talked about a little bit, but those are hypersensitive, sensitive, and robust. We're going to talk about what it means to actually be sensitive, what supplements you should be taking. If you have MCAS, again, talk to your healthcare providers, or if you're one of our current clients, I know you're probably talking to Kimberly or Alex or someone else on our team in the clinic about what you should be taking. But we want to give some general suggestions for those of you that are not currently enrolled in our clinic, and also give you some tips on how to safely onboard new supplements. I don't know about you, but one of the big jokes behind the scenes here is I never understood what a sprinkle meant in onboarding new supplements. So we'll talk about that, and we'll make sure you have pristine clarity in how to onboard those new supplements, so that way you can continue to improve on your health journey. All right, so as we get into this, I wanted to bring a special guest for today. In light of Beth still being on sabbatical, one of the things we've wanted to do is just introduce you to some of the other incredible team members we have here at Mast Cell 360. And so I wanted to introduce you to Jamie. Jamie is on our team. If you have ever emailed us at support@mastcell360, I have no doubt you've probably gotten a message back from Jamie. And I wanted you to know that along with being a member of our team for, over 2 years now, she is a certified integrative nutrition health coach herself, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey with you. She also has a master's in anthropology, and to say the least, this this woman knows just about everything to know about our protocols. So she is an incredible gem to our team. We're grateful to have her on our team and to have her joining us in this conversation today. So welcome, Jamie.
Hey, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. This is exciting for me and a little nervous, won't lie.
That's all right to be nervous. We welcome it. That's part of the process. And that makes the beauty of it being live, right? But this is such a welcoming, kind community. I know they're going to drop a couple comments in the chat and just welcome you and say hello. And probably you guys throw a couple extra emojis in there for Jamie so she feels the extra love today.
Yeah, it's all about being human. We're human.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, would you share just a little bit about your own health journey and your story and how you came to be a part of this team and really why even the topic of today matters to you so personally?
I would love to. So I was always like a sensitive kid, right? The kid who cried at everything. But growing up, I didn't have any recognizable food sensitivities. I was the least picky eater of the 3 kids in my family. I ate anything. And then I had definitely had a lot of like period problems though, and such bad acne growing up. So like there were clues that things were not right going on. And then for me, when I got to college, it was like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I grew up eating healthy food. But then all of a sudden there was a new physical environment. I was living in what I'm 100% sure now was a moldy dorm. There was new stress, whether that was like stress of getting good grades, stress of making new friends, just new stressors, and different food. So the first semester of college, I couldn't eat without being nauseous. And that was new for me. And I think that's like that big trigger for me was like, okay, something's going on. And then it took another 3 years of me having horrible anxiety, really, really bad brain fog, extreme fatigue. Every morning in the dining hall, the woman who would like swipe my card for me to eat was like, "Are you okay? You look tired." And that like just isn't great to hear. And it kind of like became my identity. I was like, I'm just tired. And so I struggled for about 3 years in college. And finally, my senior year, I got diagnosed with celiac disease. So had a genetic predisposition for autoimmunity. And then it was really like that new environment that triggered it all. So like I'm where you guys are or have been. I know what you've been through. And for the next, I don't know how many years, I've lost count now. I started diving in and researching, and I actually used like my anthropology degree to study how like food was prepared in like ancient ways, and how modern society uses the commodification of celiac or gluten-free diet and how that affects people with celiac disease. So I'm really just interested in like that human experience, and I've combined that with my interest in wellness during, I don't know, it was a while ago that one day I was just like, what is this health coaching certification? Like I got targeted on social media and I was like, wait, I can help people get
the
healthy.
Algorithm found you, Jamie.
Like, I can help people get healthy with my experience, because I was literally, as like someone who has worked in higher education, that's what I did prior to coming to Mast Cell 360 and starting my own business as a health coach. I was doing research on health. And so I was like, if I'm doing this in my spare time, might as well figure out if I can get paid to do it part-time. And so I got certified as an integrative nutrition health coach. And my passion was really in preconception health. I had just had my son. He was about 1 year old when I started my certification program. And I was helping women just prepare their bodies for pregnancy. And it was my own thought process to maybe conceive a second child, to go to my doctor and, walk the walk or walk the talk. And I said, I'm still having this symptom. And all of a sudden I have these really bad histamine issues. I couldn't eat without my nose like pouring. Like I always had to have a tissue while I was eating. So I don't know if you have been there, if you know what I'm talking about, let us know in the comments, like just those weird histamine symptoms. So I went to my doctor and I was like, what is like, my thyroid antibodies, air hunger, histamine issues. We got to get this all right before I even think about having another baby. And he was like, that all sounds like mast cell activation syndrome. And I was like, okay, well, let me go home and research that because that's what I do. And so I went home, researched it, came across Mast Cell 360. 2 weeks after joining their newsletter, it's like, we're hiring. And I was like, it's been 8 years working in academia. This looks like the next fit for me. And so I've been here, it'll be 2 years in July. And I've been working behind the scenes and loving it and really happy to be here and helping this community. So thank you for having me today. And that's my story.
You explained it so well. And even as you shared, Jamie, and let me just hold space. I feel like if I could just embody Beth and how she would do this for a moment, like just to hold space for you, that you just shared your story that was very painful and very challenging so succinctly. And just thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I saw, Linda already threw up a heart for you. Susan said, thank you for your story. And I'm sure we'll get a couple more comments in. I just really resonated with what you shared about the lady at the college cafeteria, because I remember in college getting the same thing was said to me. Oh, you look tired today. And I can relate to that, where people would just keep speaking that over me. And then I just finally decided to be like, yeah, I am tired all the time. And it wasn't that my body was tired, I wasn't tired, but there were all these other things going on. And even as you were mentioning that, I was reminded of when my college dorm caught on fire and then they flushed it with water. And then I moved in right afterwards. Maybe there was mold exposure. So, I don't think I've ever really sat down and thought of my history in the way that you just explained that. But thank you, because it's going to make me go back through with like a fine tooth comb. And
I will, and I'll just add, because this is my words of encouragement for everyone here today, is like, you can only do the best that you can with the knowledge that you have in that time. And so I actually knew that I had that mold exposure about 6 years ago, actually 8 years ago, 2016. And I didn't do anything about it because I was about to get married. I was just off my parents' health insurance. The testing was expensive. I totally get it. So I chose not to prioritize the mold at that time. It wasn't till I came and became part of Mast Cell 360's team that the mold got brought back up for me. And I really just, to share personally, I have not conceived that second child because I'm in the middle of a mold detox myself now. So, this story is well over a decade old. I'm in it with you guys right now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much. Leah just shared this big comment, so I'm going to read this to you. This is so surprising that you had a doctor just say, that sounds like MCAS, because most of us go to our doctors with lots of research saying, please treat it. And they say, oh, that's so rare, you don't have it. We don't even treat MCAS, or some doctors don't even accept it's a real disease. So, Jamie, would you share, did you know going into it that this doctor even was aware of MCAS, or did you come in with that pile of research as well and they just affirmed it?
So guys, I'll also share this, is there are doctors that will come and go in your lives. No one knows your body better than you, and you need to be your biggest advocate. So I've been to countless doctors at this point in my life, and I'm not that old. And with that doctor specifically, I actually had heard of MCAS before. I had a coworker who told me she had it back in 2016 when it was finally received a diagnosis code. And again, kind of was like, oh, that's her story, ignored it. This doctor, surprisingly, I think he was just well researched. And I'm grateful for him. I actually don't see him anymore. I see someone else now who was more focused on like the mold part, knowing that was one of my root triggers or root causes. But yeah, I am grateful that he actually knew. So I think just stick with it, guys, and don't be afraid to advocate for yourself or go doctor shopping, as I call it. They work for you. They work for you.
That is very good. And I agree. And I think it depends where you are in the process. I'm sure you've needed different levels of support in this season than you had before. And I would love if you would just share, kind of the overview, because as kind of the protocol guru behind the scenes helping so many of our clients, you know the MC360 method inside and out. Like, you absolutely do. So I know we're starting with the basics, but I would love if you would just kind of go through, just briefly touch on the 5 different steps and help our community understand what we do.
Yeah, so majority of our clients come to us in that stabilization stage, and they actually stay in the stabilization stage for quite a while, and then gently introduce stage 2, which is that mold detox. So today we're going to be talking about stabilization still. We're still in stage 1. Adding those mast cell stabilizing supplements can be a really huge benefit to your healing journey, so that you can actually onboard and handle that detox component. So last week, Kimberly talked about that nervous system component, and we see that that's about 50% of healing. And I personally come back to this all the time. When we listen to our intuition and what our gut is telling us that we need to do, when you can get to that place and actually hear that little voice inside of us, not the ego, the intuition,
Right.
it will tell you what you need. And so like mine is constantly telling me, oh, go take a 15-minute meditation. And I don't always listen to it. I'm human. And I also homeschool a 5-year-old. And so I don't always have that 15 minutes, but that nervous system component is really, really important. And then the other component that we're going to talk about today is just on that physical level. Can we onboard some of those stabilization supplements that will help us get to that next level? And so then once we are stabilized, we can bring on those detox protocols. And so a lot of our clients stay in that area, continuously doing the stabilization while they then add the detox on top of it. They don't stop stabilization once they're stabilized. It's a continuous process throughout the whole protocol.
Right.
And then once we have some of that detox support on board, we're checking those levels every 6 months. So every 6 months, we recheck those mycotoxin levels to see where we are. Do we need to add on different binders or different medications to kind of really work on that next step? And you'll see, like, some people get negative tests initially. It doesn't mean they don't have mold. It just means they're poor detoxers. So we need to, do something else to get them to the next level. And so that's why it's really, really important to find a knowledgeable practitioner to work with, because everyone is so, so individualized. So yes, we have this MC360 method, but you are an individual. Your story is yours, and it's just that. So we treat everyone based on their individual case. So steps 3, once we kind of get that mold on board, we're often able to then address some of the other things like SIBO more deeply, Lyme, and those co-infections, things like that. Some people are able to actually handle them once they get the mold taken care of. Their immune system is not so burdened by the mold that it's able to then fight the other viruses.
Okay.
Stage 4 is rebuilding. So really working on those like final components of like, okay, do you still have a little bit of leaky gut? What do we need to do to rebuild that? What do we need to do to optimize the mitochondria? Things like that. And then stage 5 is optimizing and coming up with that maintenance plan. So Yeah, it can be anywhere from a year to 6 years. It really just depends on case by case. But yeah, that's the MC360 method. And today we're going to talk more about stabilization.
Absolutely. Well, let me hop on over to our next slide. I think you covered stabilization so well. So let's ask this big question. So what do you think, and I'm going to ask this to our community, what do you think is the number one thing you need to know about MCAS and supplements? So go ahead and put that in the chat, and we're gonna answer that question for you today. It's a more rhetorical question, but I'm curious, what do you think you need to know? What is that area that is a pain point for you when it comes to MCAS and supplementation? Is it how to get started? Is it what to take? Is it am I too sensitive? You know, what do I do when I flare? What happens when I have a reaction? You know, what do you think? So I'm going to go ahead and share this one. Michelle said, how do I stop reacting? That's a good question. I like that. And I know Cam is also working behind the scenes, so you'll see her adding some additional like notes and as well as blog posts. So if you want to dive in deeper, just like Jamie mentioned, she has this incredible background in anthropology, which has like led her to really look at a lot of this from a scientific perspective. We have a lot of those great resources on our blog that are free at no cost. So make sure you check the links on Facebook after this live is over to come back to it, read the blog post, and dive even deeper. All right. So we have another Michelle mentioning, you know, how to react to supplements. Leah's trying to figure out what should she be taking. And Jenny is wondering, what do I look for in supplements to reduce reactions? And so I think that's going to be great. Susan wanted to know, what are the best supplements to heal the gut so everything else starts calming down? This is exactly why we're having this conversation today. We're going to be answering this. So I love it. So let's start with the basics. Jamie, I'm going to hand this on over to you. You just let me know when you want me to queue up the slides and move to the next one. And we're going to kind of take you guys through a process so you understand how to really do supplements well from an MCAS perspective. So go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, so basically, you know, as the slide says, starting with the basics, if you're in a nervous state, so we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic state. So sympathetic is fight or flight, and our parasympathetic is rest and digest. So you want to be in that rest and digest state before you even are, you know, going to eat. Otherwise, you're not going to digest your food well. Same can go for supplements. When you're taking a supplement, you're adding something into your body, and the body has to react to it, right? Whether that is a good reaction or a bad reaction. And so there are some things that you can do before even adding a brand new supplement. So you could try a nervous system calming technique before taking the supplement or eating. And we really like New Calm at Mast Cell 360. So Cam can throw that into the comments for you guys. Another one that we love is Primal Trust. There are some really, really great exercises that you can do in that program as well before trying a supplement. So that would be the first thing, is just keeping in mind, the more calm you can be before you put anything into your body, hopefully the better the reaction is going to be. And then, you know, just some of these other things about chewing really slowly, eating really slowly, smiling at your GI tract. So with my 5-year-old, I actually have him vocalize to his food. And before he eats, he goes, "I love you, food." And so it just puts like him into this happy state before he even eats his food. And so when you think about like us being energetic beings, and you know, the air around us and the food in front of us, transferring that happy energy into the supplement or into the food before you take it can be actually really beneficial. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I'm going to do that when I eat lunch after this. I'm going to be like,
again,
be
like,
good to me.
I will say, like, I'm really bad with routine. But like, and I don't make him say it every time, but like he'll sit there and occasionally unprompted just go, I love you, food. And it's like the cutest thing ever because he'll be like eating lunch usually while I'm on a meeting, and it like really just makes me smile. So
I love it. It makes me think about like when I like pray or whatever to like bless a meal, but like it's the same, like it's gonna be good. I like that. I'm gonna totally incorporate that. Thank you.
yeah.
That's a good tip.
The other thing we always do as a family is like just prioritizing, like from an anthropological perspective, food is not just nourishment, like on a physical level. There's so much cultural aspect around eating a meal, like with family, having that connection. Usually you're in a better parasympathetic or mindset when you're eating with people that you feel connected to as well. So just keeping that in mind. But one thing that we do as a family every night at dinner is say one thing we're grateful for. And again, my son usually is the one who starts it and reminds us. So I just love that innocence that children can bring to to the meal and to our lives. But we don't need to have children to do these things. So
I'm just gonna do it by myself. Me, myself, yeah. And I. I'm just gonna be talking to my food over here.
Yeah. So again, back to basics. We're talking about sensitive today. So if you're unable to tolerate any supplements at all, you're most likely in that hypersensitive category. And I suggest going back and rewatching last week's or looking at our nervous system reboot course. So if you can't tolerate any medications or supplements, you have a ton of food sensitivities, you're down to only a few foods, you definitely want to go back a step and continue to work on that nervous system. Some of the medications that you can use that are mast cell stabilizing are ketotifen and cromolyn sodium. And supplements we're going to be talking about today. There are way more in our top 8 supplement course, but if you have salicylate intolerance, baking soda is actually a really great place to start as long as you don't have high blood pressure. And you usually want to take it, 30 minutes to an hour before you eat, because it will lower that stomach acid. And you need stomach acid to break down your food. Other supplements that are great if you can tolerate salicylates are quercetin, and we're going to be talking a lot more today about perilla extract.
Awesome. I love it. All right.
Yeah. So when you are introducing new supplements, you definitely want to find high quality ones. The ones on our store have all been vetted, I guess we would say, to be high quality. Not 100% of them. There are a few additives just because we can only find certain ones, and some of them do have those additives. But once you're able to tolerate more, you may be able to tolerate some of those. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but definitely avoiding sources like Amazon that don't have that climate control.
Perfect. Thank you. I know that's something that I've done when I've been trying to figure out like what brand to use with feeling so hypersensitive right now. I'll actually go look at our store as a reference for that product. And, and it could be as simple as something that's like a B vitamin or a D vitamin, something my practitioner has recommended, and then kind of take next steps from there. That's been really helpful. I never knew about the Amazon component and the quality control issues. It makes perfect sense, but I never knew about that. And so I know there's like an ease to Amazon and we like it, but especially with this community, we could be affecting ourselves without even thinking about it. Right. And so that's like just that was a huge aha for me to say the least. All right. This is like a go-to best statement right here. So I know you know this one.
Yeah. So slow is fast and fast is slow. We say it at Mast Cell 360. If you go, the slower you go in the beginning, the more the more you'll benefit from that and see results quicker. But if you try to go too fast, you may set yourself back and you could have a flare from it. So when you're onboarding supplements, we recommend going super, super slow. So like when I first started working with Beth, she had me like at the sensitive level. She was giving me all instructions for sensitive level, like start with sprinkles. And I was like, I've been taking supplements for years. Like, I'm so robust. But now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I was in a constant flare.
Right.
So, yeah. So when we say sprinkles, right, Christina mentioned it at the beginning, that could be like opening the cap and like the tiniest dusting into a full glass of water. And that may be where you start for a week, or maybe you start with a dusting every third day for like 2 weeks. Because if you start with a smaller amount and you're going to have a flare, you're going to have a smaller flare by starting with a tiny amount. If you take a whole cap, it might knock you out for a week. So we just want to get it, get that message through to go so super slow.
Yeah, I would agree. I know when I got some blood work back recently, my practitioner was like, add A, B, C, D, E. And it was like all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I know there's part of me that's just like, well, it makes sense. I need these things. I need this iron supplement. But I didn't want to just start taking everything and then not even know what I was potentially reacting to or not reacting to. And so it's taken about 2 weeks to kind of merge things into my lifestyle, but I'm glad I went slow. I would have never known to do that in the past. I would have just been like, YOLO, let's take all the pills today. And I probably would have been really sick.
I'm totally guilty too. Like I'm like, I did the AIP diet right before I learned about Mast Cell 360. I did a huge autoimmune protocol and was like drinking bone broth all the time and but like, I was like, oh, slow, it's too slow. I want to eat all the foods again. Like I did 3 months. I'm good. I lowered my inflammation, right? Again, you only do as well with the knowledge that you have in that moment.
Yeah.
And I added all the foods back in. So I didn't even know what I was sensitive to. So I've learned my lesson on that one.
Yeah. My family said to me the other day, we've noticed you've been a little more adventurous in your eating lately. And I was like, well, I'm feeling a little bit better, so I can. But I also know the moment I have that like flare or reaction, I go right back to basics. And that's because I understand the process. I love this question that Linda just asked. So I want to bring this up. She's actually trying to figure out how sensitive she is. And so why don't you go ahead and answer that question? You can share, you can mention, we'll have Cam put it in there, but the resource of the quiz that we have.
Yeah. So we do have a mystery symptoms quiz that basically tells you how sensitive you are, but I'll do like a basic rundown is if you're hypersensitive, if you're tolerating less than 5 supplements or medications, or you're tolerating no supplements or medications, and you're struggling with a lot of food sensitivity. So that's kind of like our basic hypersensitivity. You're barely tolerating anything food or supplements. Sensitive, we kind of categorize people who may be tolerating some supplements and medications. And you have to be really careful on onboarding them because some can backfire on you. So like maybe you try something new and you get a flare, but you have some other supplements on board. So that would be sensitive. And you may also be experiencing some food intolerances, more than like gluten and dairy. Gluten and dairy, I'd say, are like, the primary food sensitivities our society is experiencing. So if you have more than gluten and dairy, you're probably in that sensitive category. That's why, like, even though I'm pretty robust on supplements now, I definitely have more sensitivities than just gluten and dairy. Obviously, with celiac disease, I'm not eating any dairy or gluten, but
yeah, definitely not.
but yeah. And then robust is our third category. That you're in the robust category if you can take almost any supplements or medications you need at any amount, and you don't really struggle with foods. Maybe you struggle with gluten and dairy, but you don't really have a ton of other food sensitivities. So that's kind of our robust category.
That's good. And I know for me, I've had to process food sensitivities from food allergies because I have like true anaphylaxis level food allergies. And so I think in the past, I would kind of put those things all in one place because it might cause a rash, or it might cause hives, or it might cause, an issue in my throat. But I've had to like kind of almost put them in different boxes or buckets, I guess you could say. I love the buckets analogy with histamine. So it's very helpful for me to understand, oh, these are different things. And from it helps me deal with it from a nervous system standpoint, completely different understanding. Like, oh, okay, like my body is responding, but I'm not truly in danger. I'm not, and it's okay. So that's been like a good mental health process for me in dealing with new supplementation and foods.
And the other thing I think, like, just to keep in mind is that these food sensitivities can show up like up to, I think it's like 72 hours later. Like for me, if I go out to eat on a Friday, usually I'm okay Saturday, but Sunday I'm like out like a light, like I just want to lay in bed and I'm so fatigued, just probably from some cross contamination. Cause like we have a few restaurants that I know like pretty well and can, describe what I need to take care of myself. But cross-contamination is just a risk in eating out, and I still want to enjoy life. And so I just sometimes know that I'll be knocked out a little bit. But yeah, it's that thing that like you kind of need to learn your body and learn what those reactions are. And so like for me, again, going back to that intuition, you really have that answer inside of you when you stop and think about it. Like I've gone off eggs so many times, and each time I went off eggs, I felt less tired and better. But like I didn't have like the traditional discomfort in my stomach or like, bowel issues that most people think of,
Right.
like food sensitivities. And so for me, it was really just that fatigue level. And as soon as I get eggs out of my diet, I always feel better. And so it's like going back into that intuition and being like, yeah, that food's not serving me right now. Doesn't mean it's always going to be out of my life, but in this season, it's not serving me. And so I'm not going to eat it.
That's so good. My mom and I were joking about this the other day, that as a child, I absolutely never liked leftovers. Like I would say they didn't taste the same and they were weird and just all these different things. And now learning more about histamine issues and histamine intolerance, I was like, oh my gosh, my body is so smart. I didn't know that I was literally, of course it didn't work well with me because it was making me sick. And so I ate something, I think, over the weekend that was like a leftover or something. And, just trying it out. I'm trying to really see some things and kind of test my limits and see if I'm feeling a little bit better. And yeah, that did not go well for me. I learned the hard way. And I was like, okay. And so I've got to trust my body. And so, I would love to food prep a whole week at a time, but that doesn't work for me. And so I'm having to learn to do what works best for me in this season. I love what you shared about, doing the best you can with what you know. And now that I know this new information, it's like, gosh, I've got to do what's easy and what's best for me so I can continue to heal. So it's good. Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement. I think you covered this already about not trying more than one supplement at a time and don't make multiple changes on the same day. I think we both kind of shared our own stories on that. Anything else you want to add?
I'll just add, you don't want to add, you want to try one thing at a time, and you're going to only do that one thing for like 3 days. You're not going to add something one day and then something tomorrow, right? You're going to give it those 3 days. And also you're not going to do a food and a new supplement at the same time. Like one change means one change. So one new supplement or one new food, just so that you can really keep track. And in our supplement course, we do have like a journal entry that you can kind of track that data.
That's great. Yeah, that's definitely helpful information. I know for me, that's been really good. That's how I realized I had an issue with strawberries. I was like, man, and I love strawberries. I love strawberry smoothies, strawberry everything. But every time I have them, I would have like a histamine response. And I was like, all right, well, we're just going to have to let strawberries go for a while until things change. And that's okay. All right. So I think you've covered this, but this would also be really good just to kind of break down for those of you, like I think Linda and a couple other people in the comments that, you know, are maybe looking to try some new supplements. We're always recommending them here. So I think this is like, take a screenshot of this. Always know you can come back to it when you try a new product that we recommend. This is exactly what we would tell you at the clinic.
Yeah, Linda. So that would be like a great, like following this would be a great recommendation for you, is to just start slower so that you're introducing it to your body. So your mast cells aren't like on high alert, like, what is this new thing? Like, you're slowly introducing it. So it's less of like an attack and more of just like a gentle hello.
I like that. That's really good. A gentle hello. All right, so let's talk about like if they actually have a reaction or a flare. And let's just go ahead and let's put it in the comments. If you have had a reaction or a flare in the last, let's just say 30 days, go ahead and put it in the comments. Just say I've had one, or yes, or that's me, thumbs up, or maybe the sad face, depending on how you feel in that response. I've been learning that if I have a reaction or a flare, that's actually another piece of information for me on my healing journey. Like, I've learned to kind of find the silver lining in that and take the power back, I guess you could, a little bit, instead of just being sad or disappointed. But I see here that like Jenny said yes. Let's see here. Susan said yes. Leah said yes. Michelle said she's getting one almost weekly. Ooh, we feel for you guys. So this is, again, take a screenshot. You might need to just like put this up in your kitchen or in your bathroom somewhere as a reminder. But why don't you walk us through this one, Jamie? Because this is so good.
Yeah. So definitely this is another great one to screenshot for you guys. So stop the whatever it is. And as long as you're going super slow, you should know what that trigger is. And sometimes it's out of our control. Maybe it's like a chemical sensitivity in the air and you went to a store and you were exposed to something you didn't have control over. Whatever it is, avoid the exposure again. Again, the baking soda, if you don't have high blood pressure, is great to just calm in that moment. If you're like having like a physical reaction, and in that moment you can try and calm it down a little bit. And then going back to like the basics of that nervous system support again. So getting to a place where your body can calm the mast cells, especially if what you're trying to introduce was a mast cell stabilizing supplement, but you're not there yet. The tools in your toolbox are going to be the things like, drinking extra fluids, staying hydrated is a, mast cell stabilizer. Getting that extra rest. If you have a partner or if you have kids, leaning on that village and saying like, I need help with something. It can be hard to ask for help. So the more you lean on that village or can find those support systems to get that rest you need, is going to be really beneficial to you. That's been hard as a mom. I know we have so many parents in our community here, and it is hard to get that help. And so the more you can talk to your kids about it, for them to understand what you're experiencing that moment, it's a lesson for them too, in empathy, to be able to feel what mommy's feeling and saying, I need this space, I need this rest. Advocate for yourselves as much as possible. Tightening up on the histamines and lectins, right? Those are where a lot of our triggers are. Lectins are a huge gut disruptor. We have a food list on lectins that we'll share. And the histamines, you're here, you've probably been following a low histamine diet. If you've gotten a little bit relaxed, maybe you ate a strawberry because they're in season right now. Right. No strawberries for right. So just being mindful of what you're putting in your body. And then anytime you can be more gentle on your digestive system, like, so the soups and smoothies, right, those liquids are going to be easier to break down and produce less histamine, because histamine doesn't just come from, the foods we're eating. It's going to happen where our body is going to release histamine every time we eat. It's part of our normal digestive process.
Yeah.
And then always working with your healthcare provider to, see if there are supplements that you do tolerate that you can onboard. We have an article on creating a flare plan. So you may want to check out that article and come up with your own flare plan. And I'm sorry, my dogs are barking if you can hear that.
Gotta love it. Nothing like referring to a flare plan and then the dog just starts barking. It's like they knew. I said something on a podcast yesterday, and like literally as soon as I kind of had that like drop the mic moment, a train went by in the background in the other person's like home area, and I was like, thank you. That was the exclamation point that I needed in that moment. So this is a long link, but you can just search it on our website. But here's the link to the flare plan. So just type in flare plan in the search box at mastcell360.com, and you can track that down, print that out, and have that. And make sure you share it with your family, your friends, if you live solo, so that way people understand your care plan. One of the things I've done is help my parents understand what I can and I can't have. So if I'm ever like staying with family, we make sure like I have my bone broth there and I have some go-to safe options. So that way, if I do have a trigger, I am okay. Because often when I'm at their house, I like to eat out with them. And so it tends to happen when I'm in their area. Just that's part of that risk, as Jamie was mentioning. All right, so I think we've got about 10 minutes left, so we'll kind of move through this next round of slides a little bit faster, but we do want to cover some like a supplement to start with, and I kind of revealed what it is, but go ahead, Jamie, and share a little bit more about this particular one about Perilla.
Yeah, so Perilla is one of our top 8 mast cell stabilizing supplements that we recommend in our top 8 course. So we're giving you a little peek into what the course, kind of like what the course shares. So Perilla is not good if you are salicylate intolerance, because it is, as you can see, also known as Japanese basil. It is used in traditional Chinese medicine. So it is like an herb, but it is a type of flavonoid. So it's really going to, can you go to the next slide? I think I'm going to go through pretty quickly. But yeah, it's a flavonoid. So it's going to have a lot of benefits in that inflammation category. What we're talking about is Perilla extract rather than Perilla oil. So next slide. Yeah, yep. So there are a lot of benefits to calming the mast cells that research show. It's high in luteolin and the rosmarinic acids. And, I'm not going to read all the slides. You guys can visit this, but really, really go get that top 8 supplement course and dive into these. This one's great for let's see. Yeah. So again, here's just the research into why Perilla seed extract has all these benefits, reduces asthma in multiple studies. For those who mention anaphylaxis, it can really decrease those levels of IgE in the blood. So it's a great one for mast cell stabilization.
Absolutely. And I think too, I saw here that it also is helpful with seasonal hay fever. I don't know about you, but it's been a little worse for me lately. I feel like our whole team kind of like went, ooh, there's a lot going on right now with seasonal kind of issues. And so here's one of the ones that we actually recommend, correct?
Yep. So we have 2, I believe, on our store. This Paramine, and you'll see here the other ingredients. It does have some extra in there. So if you're a little bit more sensitive, this
there's this one.
And then yeah,
sorry.
The pure encapsulations is going to be better if you're a little bit more sensitive, because it has less of it's only the vegetarian capsule in addition to the extract. So those both are on our store. Yeah. And here is when to consider it. So obviously mast cell activation, mold toxicity, as Christina mentioned, allergy symptoms, respiratory symptoms, food sensitivities, and then that genetic component.
That's great. And if someone hears this today and they're like, this might be a good idea for me, what would be kind of the suggested use?
Yeah, so it's right here. Always, always, always starting super, super slow. But since we are not familiar with your individual case, we can't say that this supplement would work for you. So before you try it, you should run it by your healthcare provider. Um, Taken 30 minutes before meals works best, again, because when you eat, you're going to produce that histamine. So if you can kind of calm those mast cells down before you start eating, going back to the basics before you even take the supplement, being in a more relaxed state as well before trying something new. And then here's a suggested dose or use, I should say.
Absolutely. All right. And who shouldn't be taking it? That's like a good reminder here.
Yeah. So we mentioned it is not great if you are salicylate intolerant. Again, if you can't tolerate any supplements, you're going to want to work more on the nervous system before adding anything in. It is in the mint family. So if you can't tolerate other mint plants, and then again, if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, or under the age of 12, you should always check with your healthcare provider on dosing.
That's great. Awesome. And oh, Linda actually asked, when did you say it's not advice? So here's the answer to that, Linda. If you still have questions, go ahead and drop it back in the, oh, you actually already replied. I missed it. You said, oh, you got to it. See, we're reading minds today. That's what we're doing. And I love that Jamie mentioned that this is just, we actually wanted to kind of take you guys behind the scenes of one of our courses that we offer here. And it's the top 8 mast cell supporting supplements course. And we are, one of the things we wanted to do, as we mentioned with like MCAS basics, is just make these resources available to you at the best rate we could. So we're doing a special offer just for this week, and you can actually get this course for $30 off. So it's only $49 this week, and you can use the code MCAS30, which is awesome. And Jamie, since you obviously see the number of people in our clinic and you see like the protocols and obviously have your own personal story, I would love for you to just share your thoughts on really who this is for and who would benefit from this.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things for me was not realizing how sensitive I was and just having some mast cell stabilizing supplements onboarded to just be able to handle the reactions that may happen when you start detoxing as well. Because when you finally get to the point where you can add in those mold detox, supports, your body is going to be more exposed because the idea is to draw those toxins out and excrete them. And so when they are drawn out, your body has the potential to go into a flare. So we have the stabilization component prior to the detox. So if you know you've had mold exposure, but you don't have any mast cell stabilization on board yet, this is a really great place to start. So, we've done mold, I think we did mold May, right? So maybe you grabbed the mold course. We don't actually go over this material in the mold course specifically. So if you haven't, gotten that far or it's not really working like you thought it might, you may need to take a step back again. And there's no harm, right? A lot of this is 2 step forward, 1 step back. My journey's been well over a decade now, and I'm just detoxing the mold. So I get it. It's frustrating. I cry on maybe a weekly basis, at least a monthly basis, because it's frustrating. You just want to be well, and I get it, but take a step back, go slow. This is a resource for you guys. We're here for you, and we wish you all the best.
Absolutely. And if along the way you have questions, we always like to make it available that you can always just email us, at support@mastcell360.com. We're here. You're probably going to get Jamie or Cam or occasionally myself in the inbox. And we're there for you. We hear your messages. We read your messages, that's for sure. And we celebrate your wins with you too. So also send us the good stuff. We want to hear that like this worked really well for you, or I'm loving this supplement. please do send us those things too, because we like to share that with our clients and our community. So I'm gonna pop this question up there, Jamie. I think you'll have an answer for this one, but Linda doesn't know if she has a salicylate issue. So what would she like? What would someone like that's wondering if they have salicylate intolerance issues do? Is there a test for that?
So the main one that people realize is they can't take aspirin, but if also a lot of herbs. So herbs, if you can't tolerate well, blueberries are actually high salicylate. So we have an article, if Cam can post that, and Beth also goes over in more detail some things you can do in the supplement course if you are. So there are some options for things that are not salicylates in the top 8 course as well. But we do have an article that I would start. That would be where I would start. Read the article, see if anything resonates with you.
Awesome. I hope that helps, Linda. Thank you for answering that question. Well, I'm going to leave this message up there. And Jamie, any final words that you'd like to share today? Any words of encouragement as we kind of close out our Facebook Live? And we'll be back next week, and we're going to be talking about the 3rd level of sensitivity, which is the robust level. So we're excited to dive into what that looks like for those that are kind of a couple steps ahead in the healing journey. But for those that are currently at a sensitive level, what would you say to them today?
Just keep going. Just one foot in front of the other. Each day is new. If one day's bad, you'll have 10 more good days for it. So, just keep going. You'll get there.
Wonderful words. Thank you so much. We're so grateful you joined us today, Jamie. Like, truly, just thank you so much. And again, if you guys have any questions, pop on into our inbox. And we're excited to see you guys next week, Tuesday, 1:00 Eastern time, right here. We'll see you then. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.